Hello YouTube, I'm Toby. Today we're taking a look at the AMD Radeon HD5570. Now this particular card only has 1 GB of GDDR3, so that is definitely not much to work with. This is a small form factor card with an HDMI, a VGA and a DVI output. Also this particular model is built by ASUS. Now in order to give this card a fair fighting chance, I gave it a 50 MHz overclock on the core and the memory. Now I did run the Resident Evil 6 benchmarking tool on low settings and 720p, since this is the monitor we'll be running it on, and we got a score of 3215, which is actually way above what I expected. Something else I didn't expect is that this thing actually outperforms the GT730 by I wouldn't say a significant margin, but it's definitely it's a pretty decent margin actually. Now before we get into the actual gaming on this card, I figured we'd take a quick look at the system. For a CPU we have an i3 2100 clocked at 3.1 GHz. For RAM we have 8 GB of DDR3 clocked at 1333 MHz. And the motherboard pretty much just came out of an old Lenovo ThinkCentre. And as you can tell, this has a cheap Chinese water cooling, which is just for the processor, not for the GPU. Alright, so let's start benchmarking. Okay then, we're now in PlayerUnknown Battlegrounds in the, I don't know what this map is called, but we're running at 26 frames per second. And I set the settings to low, and the resolution I really can't remember, but I will put it on the screen somewhere. Alright, so while we were falling, right before releasing the parachute, we were running at between 16, well now 15 and 21 frames per second, so I don't think this is going to be a great experience, but I am actually hopeful for this. It actually seems to be already doing a lot better than the 730 did. Alright, so we're now in a house and we're running around 16 to 19 frames per second. Now keep in mind that I don't have a speaker, so I really can't hear if anyone is sneaking up on me. And I just died. I did not really see him actually. Well, that sucked. So, PUBG, not playable on this. Well, it is technically playable, but not an enjoyable experience. Once we hit the ground, the frame rate was, well, below 20, but beyond 15, so I would not recommend playing PUBG on this card. Well, alright then, we're currently playing Counter-Strike Global Offensive. Now, the settings for this are set to, well, a mix between medium and low. I pretty much just let it autofill, so I didn't, damn. But we are running, well, 177 frames per second right now, and it easily reaches 200, so this isn't too bad actually. If you're looking for a Counter-Strike Global Offensive, well, gaming card, this card actually seems to be doing quite well. It feels responsive. And oh god, I don't know, it's just hard when you have to talk while you try to play a game actually. I don't know how the streaming community does this, but I guess it takes some practice. Hey, I finally got a kill. That went on way too long. Ah, man. Alright, I'm done with CSGO. Let's try something else. Alright, so we are now playing the intro sequence to Subnautica. And it seems to be running around 23 frames. Well, it dipped to 19, but that's okay. Let's pick up this fire extinguisher and just extinguish these flames right here. Now, when I first tried to start up the game, it told me that the GPU wasn't up to par. But from what I've seen, this GPU is better than the 730. And right now, just in shallow waters, we're running in the low 30 frames per second, which is above expected actually. Now I have to say that this is one of the better games that I've ever played. If you like single player games, this might actually be the game for you. Now right now we're running at around 30 frames per second again, but I have to admit, when you get into deeper waters, into the lower caves and all that, this might dip to be pretty much unplayable, I guess. But in the early parts of the game, this card is pretty much okay, to say the least. Now YouTube, that was my video on the HD5570. I really hope you enjoyed this video, and if you're interested in learning more about this loot that only cost me $32, the video is on my channel. Now when it came to the PlayerUnknown Battlegrounds benchmark, this card was, again, I'll have to say, it actually did run the game, which I really didn't expect, but it wasn't really that playable. The low frame rates pretty much made the firefights useless. It was pretty much useless in the firefights, is what I'm trying to say. Now Subnautica also, it did seem to run the game quite well actually, but again, once you get into the deeper waters, the caves and all that, it might become unplayable, so I don't think you can actually finish the game on this card. Counter-Strike Global Offensive, however, it ran very well. It ran way beyond expectations, and well, this is a 60 Hz monitor, so yeah, I really don't have much advantage of the 200 frames per second I was getting out of this card. But then again, CSGO is pretty much playable on a potato nowadays. Now if you like the AMD APU line, you should definitely keep an eye out for my channel, maybe subscribe, because I'll have the 3850 Sempron benchmarks out in a few weeks actually. I've gone back to uploading once a week. Now if you like this channel, please comment, rate and subscribe. With the new YouTube guidelines, I'm no longer eligible for the AdSense. Not that the money is what motivates me, but it is nice to get paid a little every now and then, just to keep the just so I can buy new cheap ass graphics card and test out to see just what they can do. But thank you very much for watching this video, and I really hope you enjoyed it. And of course, have a nice day.